We're going to be making a better version of this, where instead of just being the tree, we're going to put a little apartment on the top. Well, we've got our wood. This big old piece right here is going to suit us perfectly. Nice, straight, about 4 inches in diameter. So it'll be sturdy enough, not too thick, not too heavy, and we're probably going to chop it about here, so just above knee level for me. And I think that'll be a nice height for a cat tree. So I'm going to start measuring up all the lines and cuts and how to get this thing flat. We're going to measure up how we want these to cross. And I'm going to do a simple notch and cut. So we're going to cut these down to length. So they'll be about this size. And then I'm going to notch out, this is a 1 inch board. So we're going to notch out a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch and then inlay them. So it'll be only 1 inch high, but they'll stack and be really nice and taut together. Now I took the circular saw that we used to cut these pieces down to size, and I just did a divot right along the lines of where I found the center mark and the 1 1/3 offs, the same width as these, and drill those down. And now I'm going to take a chisel. Now you chisel these gaps out on the marked lines, and we'll see if we can test them together. And less is more. We're going to want to sand these so they fit together nice and tight. We don't want to cut them out. It's looking really good. They are fit together perfectly. Now, I'm not going to drill these or wood glue them just yet. I'm going to wait till final assembly. But we've got our base and a solid foundation. That's what every good project is built on. So now we start working on how we want to mount this up. And so I'm going to start measuring these bad boys up, figure out what's going to be the sidewalls, what's going to be the back and the front. All right, so what we're doing right now is we're taking the board we already had, which we like the size of for the base of the cat apartment, the box, and we're laying it on the second board, and we're just going to get an outline and get ready for cutting it. And so that these two will have the exact same dimensions up and down, and then we'll build the walls around it. So I'm going to just take my carpenter's pencil, rough trace, clamp my board down a bit better, and now we have our outline. Now we've got our two boards. Now we need to work on the sides, and that's not quite tall enough for our cat. So we're going to go find some more wood to make the walls out of, and then we'll start working on putting together these wood panels into a box. Now before we start and finish the boards together, we're going to want to join the base and the tower together. Now what I'm doing with this is I'm recessing a hole into the base, and that will allow our bolt head to stay flush under here so that it's flat on the ground. So pretty much we're just going to be creating a gap right in the dead center, and we're going to do the same thing on the baseboard. This is going to be on the baseboard. We're going to create a little recession so it'll be flat flush in here. There won't be the bulge of a bolt. Just enough so that head will be flush. About 1/3 of an inch right there. And it's golden.
Now, to do the same with this, which I forgot to do.
I'm just eyeballing a center here, like a professional would. I've got my boards set up in a jig and they're sanded to fitment. And now I'm gonna set up, I've got one drill with a screw bit. I've got one drill with a drill bit, and I've got one drill with my screw head on it. So that allows me to drive the pilot hole, which is allowing an excavation of some of the material so that these glued together pieces of wood do not split when you drive the screw into it. And it also makes sure you don't have a screw deviate from the course and splinter out the side on accident. Just good prep. Target ground graphic you're trying to get, such as a cat. You may want to test fit the cat inside or with whatever product. And she jumped out, which means I don't think it's optimal, but she's still inspecting said product. So, you know, we're still waiting on this test group to get back to us, but I think this will have helped our final project. Having had returned from our focus group testing, it appeared the cat did enjoy the lower ceiling with the wider base more area to, you know, lay out like a cat does. And so we are going to move forward with it shallower and wider based. But the thing I am now considering is, what about a off-center entrance in the top, a circular entrance, just like we were going to do before, a circular entrance in the center. I don't know. I think I'm going to sleep on that and return to that issue tomorrow. For tonight, I'm going to wood putty and wood glue this base. So I'm going to take it back apart and fill all the gaps and stuff with wood glue and put it back together and let it sit overnight. And that will be permanently attached together. From our favorite place ever, Harbor Freight. And today, we got a number of stuff for some upcoming projects. But to finish up this cat tree, we have the cat scratching aspect. And so we are going to use hot glue to glue it to the base and then ring all the way around the bottom and a little bit on the second ring. And then every about 3 levels since then, I've done about an inch to a 2-inch ring. And I'm trying to, one, make a concentrated effort to push each ring down as I go around. 2, I'm trying to keep it bound as tightly as possible as I'm pushing it down. And so I'm never really letting go of the rope until I've glued and then let the glue set in an area. So until it's set and glued, I'm trying to keep tension on it. And I think that will just allow it to be a really nice, tight, taut scratching post. Pretty much completed. It's just time for the box. And there's 2 steps left: cutting the holes out and fitting the carpet. That's sitting there. And there's our box. No holes in it though. And I forgot to bring the circle we've been using to home. So how are we gonna get this circle? So I sanded the old one off. Well, here's a trick. Put a nail in the center, a ruler right there. You have a perfect circle. Now, time to cut. Well, we're that much closer to a finished product. Now, because I recessed this hole, I'm actually I bent this washer up, and I'm going to put that there just to really clamp it down. And the next thing to do, and the last thing to do, is put carpet on it. So let's go get some carpet. All right, so now we're cutting out the carpet we got from IKEA to wrap the top apartment area. Now this is pretty much, you know, you can ask whoever sews in your family for this sort of stuff. This is a measuring board, and so you measure the length, height, and width of all the panels. So I've got a 40 length by a 35 width. So I need to be from this line here to just over this board goes to 33, so 35 inches wide with 40 inches long, starts at 56. So that means at 16 right here is 40 inches. Now we're gonna cut out one big square of this template, just some spare plastic we had, and then we're going to cut out the squares sections that you don't need, and we're going to trace that onto the carpet, and then we're going to cut that out. But we're not just cutting out perfectly to fit this. You're going to leave excess so it can wrap over the edges. We're also going to do a interior section, you can see drawn here, that we're going to put inside of this before putting the carpet over. That way this wood has a finished edge. We'll do a similar thing for the interior down there. Well, I copied the size and dimensions onto the plastic template. We got it all cut out, fit to size, and I added an extra inch on each of the edges. As you can see here, this is so that it'll fold in on itself and give it a little bit more of a finished look, less chance of fraying any of the material. So I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to pin it with some bobby pins to the bottom of the carpet material and trace the outline, and then I'll start cutting that out. We are all measured up, boys. We got a bunch of 90 degrees. We were using our right angle and our yardstick as much as possible to try and get everything to line up perfectly, and I think we did. So now we're gonna cut the outer edges out, not the interior blue. That's not getting cut, that's a fold line. The outer lines of blue are the cut lines. So I'm gonna cut those out, and we're gonna throw it onto there. Before I stitch this thing, I am working on steaming it so it'll be nice and smooth and we won't have any wrinkles or folds once we nail, glue, or staple it down to the actual box. And as you can see, I've also folded over the edges that we're going to be twining and sewing, and that's so they don't have the frayed edge exposed aesthetically, and so they don't come just falling apart after one day with a cat. And two, that's so it's easier when you're stitching, so you're not trying to fold this over as you're stitching. So right now we're stitching all the edges that are not being folded over, just because this is a yarn twiny material, so it will fray apart theoretically if we don't. So we're doing a zigzag stitch to grab as many of the pieces of string as we can, just to hold all the edges together. Now you can see we've got our edges all nice and trimmed and rolled and sewed. We don't have our center, but we do have a ridge, so we are going to start with this end, move over to the other end. So we're going to start with this end, as in the sense that we are going to attach this end piece firmly and tautly so these corners line up. We're then going to attach the end piece on the other side, and that way we're working. So boom, 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 boom. I'm trying to make sure everything's lined up and tight at the same time. I'm going to start by stapling the corner here, here, Woohoo! We have a nice little apartment. All the edges looking good. We've got our rings done up on the inside, but we don't have the top hole cut. So we're gonna find the center. We're gonna poke a hole. We're gonna cut a hole. Leave about 2 inches of carpet. I'm going to fold that carpet down and up and either staple nail or hot glue it to the interior ridge. And then I think we'll be done. I've got these cut so it's far enough in where you're not coming up over the ridge. And I'm gonna hot glue all these little spots where it could tear just to try and prevent further tearing. And then I'm going to staple it nice and taut up and under there so you don't see it. And so it gives it this nice bolstered padded look. This little guy's name is Cedar. He's just a kitten of a mitten, the size of your hand. And we're gonna see if he likes this box. But first we gotta finish putting together. So just like I did on the bottom here, with the bottom leg bolt, I put wood glue in for final assembly. We're going to take our 1/2-inch drive, our leg bolt, which is right here, and we're going to put wood glue into it first, and then a little bit on the bolt and in the seat where the bolt is. We have this cat tree project all finished up, and the cat seems to be interested in it. This is first attempt. We will see. Come on, Cedar. Follow your dreams. Okay, I guess those are his dreams for now. Well, like we said with this project, it's not exactly what we imagined when we set out to do it. We thought we'd be doing a side hole entrance, and we saw a problem and we found a solution using this as a step for him to get up onto this bed. As you can see, he's just a little kitten, so he doesn't quite have that ability yet. I'm sure soon he will. With all this energy, I'm sure he'll be able to jump up there soon enough. But I think this project turned out great. So far, he seems to enjoy it, and we're gonna put it right in that little corner over there. Hello. We're gonna put it in that corner over there, so he can just jump up right on the bed and attack us while we're sleeping. I'll probably regret this whole project. Well, thanks for coming along. Like, subscribe, comment. Check out my page for other builds and similar stuff. Stop licking the wood glue.